Just to welcome you to NewFinance. We've just set this group up as a meetup. You know, we have the big one back in London. We've been kind of running them across the pond. And so we set up a dedicated one less than a month ago. We've already got 160 members, so it's gone quite well. But I think we can push that to about 500 if we can. Paula's based here, so she's my wing woman. Is that the correct term?
Yes, I think that's the scientific term.
The wing woman, okay. So I've got David Milligan, who's in South Africa, who's going to Skype in. And then we've got Vlad, so he's going to be doing a presentation. So let's just move on, try and bring David in. So this will be quite fun. We're going to Skype him in. So let me see. David, hi, how are you? Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So David from Matchi, it's all yours.
Thanks for the opportunity. I've prepared a couple of slides kind of outlining a bit about what Matchi does. So I think maybe let me get into those and then take some questions. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so Matchi.biz is really, as the name says, an innovation matchmaking company, so matching innovations. And if we can move on to slide 2. So what we do essentially is connect innovators, FinTech innovators in particular, with banks around the world. So we operate on a global basis. Our goal really is to bring FinTech innovators and banks together in a way that increases return on all sides. And as the slide says, our minimum requirement is we're looking for firms that have at least a working prototype and preferably firms that have a solution that's already been sold into their local market. So more on this in a moment, but I think let's just move on to the next couple of slides. This is just kind of a scene-setting slide. Really what we've noticed in our experience is that there is a whole ecosystem around innovation, and our goal really is to foster that ecosystem, and the way we do that is shown on the next slide. On the left-hand side, you can see that Matchi really seeks to connect innovators on the left with banks on the right-hand side, and we have slightly different propositions for innovator companies that are startups versus more established innovators, and we connect those innovators with banks. We have normal sort of member banks, so those are bank buyers on the top right-hand side, and we have some bank sponsors which we have a deeper relationship with, and they have certain additional rights. So I think if we move on to the next slide.
Okay.
This is a bit of an action-packed slide, but it's just to show the members that we have. So we've been going since about January this year or late last year. We've got 30 banks around the world that have signed up. You can see the spread is quite wide from Europe, Australia, Far East, Germany, Singapore, a few banks in the UK, banks in Russia, and South Africa, even Azerbaijan. So we really find that there's a lot of demand out there for banks for anything that increases the reach of their innovation search, and really that's what we do. And a better way of looking at it, if we move to the next slide please, Eddie, is just kind of looking at it kind of from a logo view. So that's not all the banks, but those are just some logos. And if you really want to see the full list and all the logos, you can see that on our website. Really, our value proposition for innovators is kind of split between, as you saw earlier, startups versus more established firms. And the key difference between the three packages essentially is the number of innovations that you want to list on the platform. So on the left-hand side, on the startup side, there's no fee to list, but then we would look at a 5% commission essentially on the revenue of a deal that gets done with a bank that we've introduced the innovator to. That still gets you listed on our platform, and that still gets us engaging and promoting your innovation to banks around the world. On the middle, there's the Pro. That essentially lets firms list up to 3 innovations and will facilitate introductions to 3 banks. And on the right-hand side, the premium membership really for an unlimited number of innovations. So really what we have at the moment is we get a fair number of firms going for the startup option. We get some firms going for the pro option, and then not many, but a few firms going for premium. I mean, we have some companies that have listed 13 separate fintech innovations with us. There's another company that's listing 34 innovations with us, which is a pretty incredible number. So moving on to the next slide, please. This is just a testimonial from one of our early clients, and I think you can read that yourselves, but I think it's a great testimonial. Really, I mean, this is just kind of a scene-setting thing to say. So we're here to promote collaboration, and I think, with the slides kind of out the way, really where we are is that we're signing up a lot of banks around the world on a regular basis. We're signing up a lot of innovators. The place that Matchi came from is really out of the observation that there are a lot of innovators who manage to successfully build something and sell it into their local banking market, but that they often then struggle to reach out to banks in other places in the world. And that's certainly been the experience of many fintech innovators. So we exist to kind of meet that need. And for us, the real sweet spot is innovators who have successfully sold to another bank. It gives great proof points. Banks around the world face similar problems, not exactly the same, but there's a great deal of overlap. And our most successful matches have been where we find something that's successfully deployed in one market and we bring to another. So some of the things that have happened recently, I mean, we've introduced a firm from Chicago to ANZ Bank in Australia and to Standard Bank in South Africa. And both of those conversations look like they're leading to pilots. We've introduced groups of firms from all over, like a group of about 6 firms to Sberbank in Russia. We're getting an increasing number of Israeli fintech startups that are signing up. So, really what we're getting is a lot of interest, and I think that's just a reflection of the interest that exists in fintech around the world. I think that it's certainly something that's picking up, and we're excited to be a part of that. So I think, that's pretty much it for the slides.
Let's see if there are any questions. Pass the mic around for some questions.
Hi, David. Just a quick question from your description. Is your service meant to provide some investment capital for young companies, or is it actually to sell products into these different banks, or what would the relationship be? Second part of that question is, I noted on one of the slides it talked about meeting some of the business people as well as some of the product people at those banks. Can you be a little bit more descriptive about, in an investment bank, for instance, at UBS or ABN AMRO or one of the others that you mentioned, exactly which groups that you might make entrees to?
So let me answer the second part first, and then I'm not sure I heard the whole of the first part of your question, but the typical contact points that we deal with in the banks are heads of innovation, heads of strategy, and heads of new product development within particular business areas. So those are the people that we put you in touch with. It is driven by interest from the bank. So really what happens is that having listed your innovation in a very sort of summary form on our platform, really what we do is we look through those things in our conversations with our member banks. We understand what their priorities are, and we promote to them things that are more aligned immediately with what they're looking for. So I'm saying once the bank takes a look at something that we then send to them in an email or speak to them about on a call, and they want to then take the conversation forward, then we facilitate that introduction. Sorry, what was the first part of your question? I didn't quite hear all of that.
Yeah, the question was about whether you were making or creating opportunities to sell products into those banks, or maybe some investment capital for young companies as well.
We are focused only on the revenue opportunity. So, other organizations, VC firms and other things, really on the capital raising side, our focus is to help innovators raise revenues and find new clients.
Okay, do we have any other questions for David?
Hello. How do you charge the companies? By percentage of the sales or commissions?
So that percentage model works. So there's no upfront subscription costs, but if a deal then happens through an introduction that we facilitate to a bank, the bank will then withhold 5% of its payments to the innovator and pay them over to us. And that's 5% of the revenues of the deal for the first 3 years.
So you mentioned, yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean to be a member? I mean, what are they committing anything, or are you just on the list, or what does it mean to be a member of your site?
Sure. So for the banks, they're all banks that we've spoken to directly. We've built relationships with key individuals in the bank. Some of the early banks, when we first signed up, we signed up some of them kind of on very sweetheart deals, with banks that have signed up since then pay an annual membership fee, which is somewhat higher than what we charge the innovators. Something else maybe just to mention that I didn't highlight is on the sponsor banks. We also have banks, one sponsor bank within each geographic region. And a sponsor bank gets the right to see innovations for up to 30 days prior to other banks in their region seeing them. So sponsor banks pay a higher fee, but what they get is kind of a first mover advantage. So we're seeking, as I say, to sign up one sponsor bank in each region. And to date, we've signed up 3 sponsor banks, and they're listed on our site, but essentially it's CaixaBank in Spain, which was voted the world's most innovative bank by Euromoney and by BAI in 2011, 2013. We've also have Standard Bank in South Africa, which is the biggest bank by assets. And most recently, we've signed up Bank Hapoalim, which is the biggest bank in Israel. So all of those banks and all of the banks on our platform are actively engaged with us and generally paying a fee to do so.
David, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much,
Cheers.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Eddie.